Francois, what were originally the reasons for you to start setting up the global agenda for sustainable livestock?
The main reason was to raise the issue of sustainable livestock production at the international level. And the traditional way to do it in the past was to, as a government, was to raise the issue in a forum like the Committee of Agriculture of FAO. And the traditional approach was more, I would say, a top-down approach with government trying to develop guidelines for sustainable livestock production. But in the case of livestock, there was a group of countries that didn't want to address this issue of livestock, of sustainable production in the Committee of Agriculture. So we had to explore an alternative way, and we thought that a more bottom-up approach involving all stakeholders will be the most appropriate approach to address this issue of sustainable livestock production.
How close are you now in terms of what you wanted to do with the global agenda?
I think since 2010 we really made some progress. I think now livestock is on the international agenda. It was part of, for example, the Rio Plus 20 declaration. It's on the Agenda 2030, so it's there. And also we are able to discuss the issue on how to improve the sustainable footprint of livestock production in organizations like FAO. For example, at the last COAG, the COAG took note of the progress made within the global agenda for sustainable livestock and see this as a good way to tackle the issue.
There are actually strong sentiments in the first world against livestock development because of meat-eating patterns and so forth. How did you convince actually the Swiss government to do and get involved and put money into this?
Livestock is the main component of the Swiss agriculture, so it counts for more than 50% of the revenue coming from agricultural production. And in Switzerland, livestock is important, of course, for food production, for example, cheese or chocolate, but it's also very important for the landscape. Without the meadows, with the cows in the meadows, I think the Swiss tourism will not be as it is today. So it's a very also important component of landscape, and it's also a very important component of rural development. So I think for Switzerland, livestock is a priority. And of course, what we would like to see in the future, because for us, sustainable agriculture is also a priority, just to see that what can we achieve at the international level to try to set up a framework to define what could be or what should be sustainable livestock production in the future. Of course, we have this discussion about meat consumption, but I think these are why we need to address this issue in a multi-stakeholder approach, because we need to have all the views and positions around the table. And I think that's, of course, the added value of the multi-stakeholder approach. And I think also that's why, for the support of the implementation of Agenda 2030, we have the SDG 17, which recognize that we will never achieve Agenda 2030 without talking one to the other, so without this multi-stakeholder approach.
How big is actually Switzerland's perseverance in being the sole donor on the global agenda?
Within FAO, the global agenda on sustainable livestock is not the only multi-stakeholder partnership that Switzerland is supporting. It's really for us one of the priority when it comes to our collaboration with FAO. We are also, for example, supporting the Global Mountain Partnership, which is a multi-stakeholder to promote sustainable development in mountain areas. We are also supporting for example, the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture or the Global Soil Partnership. But I think one of the main issues with all these partnerships is to try to ensure long-term financing of the secretariat of this partnership, because of course this partnership without a secretariat that is somehow driving, supporting the process, they will not exist. And we see our engagement really to start launching of this partnership. But on the long term, we would like all the partners to contribute to the cost of the partnership. And I think that's something that will be one of our priority for the future, is how to convince all the partners, for example, here in the Global Agenda for Sustainable Livestock, that there is an added value for them to be part of this partnership, of this global agenda, so that they will also contribute to the functioning of the global agenda. Because the approach with one or two governments supporting initiative like this, so multi-stakeholder initiative, I think will not continue in the future. We really have to explore other possibilities. So to respond to your question, I think we are, of course, questioning our future support to the financing of the secretariat of the Global Agenda for Sustainable Livestock, but we would like to explore ways with all the stakeholders being supporting this initiative.
At this MSP now, did you hear any perspectives from the multi-stakeholders on how to actually better implement the agenda and make it more conducive to its original goals?
One of our initial ideas of the agenda was the agenda being able to promote consortium. So by consortium, we mean group of different type of stakeholders working together to support a project. Because at the end, what you want to achieve impact in the field at the national level. So I think we are still in the consolidating phase. So what I have seen today, for example, the discussion we had this morning, it's a strong participation of all the members and really trying to see how, based on the experience that have been developed by individual organizations, how we can try to develop more common approach. So I think we are in the good way, but I think the real challenge is how do we move from where we are now really to have an impact in the field. And I think we don't have the solution yet. And I think it will be important that main donors, for example, like the World Bank, maybe are more involved in a process like the Global Agenda for Sustainable Livestock. Because I think at the end, it's really the challenge is how to convince the donors, the main donors, that they should invest in livestock, not only in livestock, but in sustainable livestock.
How do you see actually FAO's role here in getting the multi-stakeholder partnership going?
We see a triple role for FAO. First, FAO should be a facilitator, and I think they have made a great job when it comes to the global agenda on sustainable livestock. Without FAO, I think we will not have a global agenda on sustainable livestock. And it's not only FAO as an organization, but like I mentioned before, it's also FAO as an intergovernmental body. For example, the role of the Committee on Agriculture was very important for the development of the global agenda. So I think this facilitation role of FAO is critical. Then, of course, FAO is a partner, is a very important partner. I think we already had some clear demonstration, for example, this morning, where we had the presentation of projects where FAO is really leading. So FAO is a partner at the same level as the other partner. And last but not least, also, FAO is playing an important role to support this global agenda on sustainable livestock by providing the secretariat and also providing its network. So I think these are really the three functions: facilitation, partner, and supporting.